rich and sort of precise this information can be at base resolution. But at the same time, it felt like very much a zoomed-in picture of a specific process. So when I joined DeepMind, I wanted to work on sort of a more complex processes. So we worked together with David Kelly at Calico on predicting gene expression from DNA sequence, which is a very difficult problem. And for that problem, we had to extend the length of the sequence quite significantly in order to capture as many relevant pieces as possible. But in order to do that, we had to trade off the resolution that made VPNet so interesting. So it's always felt like a bit of a trade-off between these two things: the sequence length and the resolution.
I guess there have been many other models pushing this area forward. What was the real gap that we were trying to fill with AlphaGenome?
There have been other DNA sequence to function models before. The most similar to AlphaGenome is probably Informer, also from this team, and Borzoi from David Kelly's group in Calico. And there's also lots of more specialized single-task models. There's Splice AI for as comprehensively as possible, really, given constraints of time and space and sanity. One issue that we ran into very early on, actually, was how are we going to structure our evaluation strategy? Like, how do we make sure that we're doing it in a rigorous, comprehensive way? Because the model does have so many capabilities. How do we handle all of that? And the approach that we took on was, again, parallelization. And so essentially what happened is each individual would take on one or two areas, like maybe one or two modalities, and kind of own that section of the paper, really, end to end. So they would ingest the data, design the evaluation, add benchmarks, make the paper figures. And this worked really well, actually. And the other thing is that a lot of these evaluations were already pre-existing in the research community. So in a lot of cases, we could just ingest them and use them directly. So that was extremely helpful.
Mm. You mentioned different people started focusing on different areas. Are there different classes of evaluation then?
June can talk to that.
Yeah, exactly. Whenever possible, we try to evaluate our model in different ways. For instance, we evaluate on the molecular level if we recapitulate the experimental readout well, and also on the organism level consequence, if we can predict well a mutation is going to lead to higher disease risk or not. Also, we also try to show as many examples as possible, like both examples where the model did well and examples model did not well. And this was just one example I found particularly interesting that we showed in the paper. This, the model was trying to predict some cancer driver mutations, and we're very surprised to find that the model actually did very well recapitulate what the researchers found in the wet lab, and that was amazing to see that the model ranks the driver mutations much higher than some other random controls. We are quite happy and put in the paper.
Awesome. Yeah, I guess after the evaluations, it was kind of down to the paper writing.
Yes, just the paper writing.
Well, life for none of us has been a crystal stair, but we must keep moving. We must keep going. If you can't fly, run. If you can't run, walk. If you can't walk, crawl, but by all means, keep moving.
Now, that's a description of the system. Was anybody actually cruel to you or violent to you because you were colored?
Yes, we did confront some of those problems. I remember as a child seeing problems of police brutality. And this was mainly aimed at Negro children and Negro adults. I can remember also the organization that is known as the Ku Klux Klan. This is an organization that stands on white supremacy, and an organization that in those days even used violent methods to preserve segregation and to keep the Negro in his place, so to speak. Now, I can remember seeing the Klan actually beat Negroes on some of the streets in Atlanta.
But nobody ever beat you personally.
I did have one experience, which was a relatively minor experience, but it still lived with me a good deal. When I was about 8 years old, I was in one of the downtown stores of Atlanta, and all of a sudden someone slapped me, and the only thing I heard was somebody saying, "You are that stepped on my foot." And it turned out to be a white lady. And of course, I didn't retaliate at any point. I finally went and told my mother what had happened, and she was very upset about it. But at that time, the lady who slapped me had gone, and my mother and I left the store almost immediately.
Can you remember at this distance of time why you didn't respond in any violent way? Was it that you'd already thought of non-violence, or was it that you just didn't dare as a Negro to take any strong action against a white?
Well, I think probably it was a combination of two things. I hadn't thought of nonviolence at that early age as a system of thought, as a practical technique. I think a great part of it was that I just didn't think I wouldn't dare retaliate.
It's often said that there's no such thing as a coincidence. This is usually asserted by detectives who believe every small piece of evidence is connected, by those who insist that every single thing that happens is the will of God, or by conspiracy theorists. The best theorists. But coincidences absolutely do happen, and they happen all the time. There are billions of people in the world living their lives, and sometimes weird shit is just gonna happen. Sometimes these coincidences have lasting impacts on the world, while other times they're just bizarre things that only really impacted a single person. But either way, they're all pretty unbelievable. The man who survived both atomic bombs. Tsutomu Yamaguchi was born in Nagasaki, Japan on March the 16th, 1960. In the 1930s, he was hired class. It was sunk by the very ship it had tried to disguise itself as. The original kamikaze. That have seen a lot of use. The Garand was primarily produced during World War II, and the same guns were recycled throughout that war, Korea, and Vietnam. As such, the box from the CMP recommended that all guns be stripped, cleaned, and inspected before use, as they were old and in varying condition. James field stripped his new rifle, something he'd never forgotten how to do, and he removed the butt plate to check for rust. Much to his shock, he saw his own initials scrawled in pencil on the butt of the gun beneath the plate. The writing was worn, but it had survived all those years. By sheer coincidence, James now owns the exact gun he was issued when he had served in Korea. He wasn't the only person to be reunited with his rifle from Korea either, as a somewhat similar story happened in Minnesota. In that case, however, the man in question knew the serial number of his gun from the war and had jokingly offered $1,000.
We can't override the time clock.
I am terrified.
Let's give you a bath.
Did you ever like it, Pam? I would stand in line for this. There's always room in life for this. And close my world and never open up to anything that could get me at all. I had to close down everything. I had to close down my mind. Too many things caught me. Too much could make me blind. I've seen so much in so many places, so many heartaches, so many faces, so many dirty things you couldn't even believe. I would stand